So, Marcel, you know, I guess when people come to see you, they've usually got something that hurts.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's usually something painful.
But you must identify, I know we're not giving medical advice here, and you don't claim to be a doctor, but you have worked for a number of years in this whole field. You must see other things that are happening.
Yes.
What are some of the common problems? We did talk about obesity, you know, and I wonder how that fits into the kind of problems you deal with, and any other conditions that you're coming across with people that come to see you.
Yeah, so one of the very interesting ones would be diabetes, and in particular type 2 diabetes.
Right.
So type 2 diabetes is obviously something that happens to most people later in life, not always, and unfortunately the age of type 2 diabetes generally is dropping.
It's dropping.
Which is a huge problem. But type 2 diabetes didn't exist 50 plus years ago. It really didn't. It was something that was almost undiagnosed, because maybe it's a bit more than that, but it wasn't something that was hugely prevalent as a problem because of the food that was being consumed and the amount of, and the general body weight and so on and so forth. And the medical profession has very much leaned into the medical intervention of type 2 diabetes. But what has been proven time and time again is that it is reversible, and that it can be managed through proper nutrition, exercise, and diet. Now, how you do that needs to be done in consultation, ideally with your doctor. That is on the basis that your doctor knows what they're talking about. So you want to make sure that you are communicating with them. But where that has translated for me is that I've seen an interesting mix of people who are taking medications for diabetes, conflicting with the functions of their muscles. And that is very interesting, because I will sometimes be presented with a patient who presents with interesting musculoskeletal problems that haven't come about from injury.
Right. Okay.
So they haven't come to me because they've had a fall, or they've tripped, or they've done something like that. This is something that's come on over time. And it could be they've been on medication for many years, but now, because of aging, could be weight gain, could be a change in lifestyle, they're now starting to feel aches and pains and problems in their hips or the quads or the lower back. And after my extensive investigation, which I generally do with all patients, it then comes about, and it tends not to be something that they are upfront with. It becomes something that it's a topic that comes about through conversation. So I'll ask many, many questions, which would include, is there anything else I might need to know? Are you on any medications? No, I'm not. But then later through conversation, I'm also diabetic. Okay, are you taking any medication for that? Yes, I am. Okay, interesting. And then there's this connection between the muscle function and the type of medications that they're taking.
Yeah, and without going into naming things, I've read some studies on this, and know that there are certain medications that are given which do conflict, shall we say, with building muscle, and it's almost like all the energy expended in the exercise is not sort of reinvested in the body, shall we say.
Well, the thing that I've discovered is that even if the person is not exercising, the muscle function is impeded by the medication.
Right, okay.
And so its ability, for example, its ability to relax has been impeded by something.
Yes.
And the common denominator appears to be, or the reoccurring factor appears to be, that this person is taking a certain medication, and that muscle's ability to reset, relax, sit down is not what it should be.
Right. Okay.
And therefore it's very tense, very tender, particularly over a period of time. It just gets worse and worse. And it's not necessarily injured, but it's just way too tight and won't release. And that is something that I've seen frequently with that type 2 diabetics.
Right, yeah.
And so for me, my enthusiasm with regards to talking to the client is to try and highlight, did you know, or are you aware that your type 2 can be adjusted through diet and nutrition and so on? Unfortunately, the answer is very often no. I thought this was something I had to suffer for life. And it's a broad conversation.
But Marcel, I used to work in the social health field in the UK, and one of my concerns back then, I've been here over 20 years now, was how both many doctors, not all doctors, but many doctors and many patients all are looking for the quick fix for everything.
Yeah, of course.
So the doctor goes, yeah, okay, here's your prescription. And the patient comes out happy because they've got their magic bullet to sort the problem out.
Yep.
And
prescription addiction.
And you know, I don't think I'm being cynical here.
No.
And I have known many people over my years who have been so disappointed that they've come out of the GPs without a prescription. And they're going, well, he's rubbish, isn't he? You know, or she's rubbish, isn't she? Because they didn't get a prescription, because they didn't get the magic bullet. And, you know, with type 2 diabetes, and I can't say the numbers, but what I've read recently is that the age is coming down and down and down to the point where we're talking about children developing type 2 diabetes.
Correct.
And I know from personal experience that it can be reversed.
Yep.
But
there we go.
Without medication.
There we go.
And we're not recommending people to stop any medications they're on or anything like that.
Yeah.
But you know, there are changes that can be made to, I'm going to say, to lifestyle rather than just to diet.
Correct. I agree.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's a huge topic, and of course we know the motivation for money making is very high, so it's a tricky one. I'm afraid so. Yeah, it's big business. It's very big business, and the topic of insulin resistance is growing and exponential, and that is what's causing this problem.
Yes.
And it's happening because our body's metabolizing very intensely sweet foods and or added sugars, and being unaware of just how much is in the food that we're eating is creating this problem. And of course, for kids, the access to sugar is ever increasing.
Yeah, and the high glycemic index carbs, you know, they're the quick fix for a hunger. If you're hungry, I'll have a sandwich, I'll have this, or for busy parents, we'll make pasta. And again, any Italians listening, I'm not knocking your pasta.
That's right.
Really not knocking your pasta.
I love Italian pasta.
But, you know, what I have also learned is that different people from different geographical areas in the world have different metabolisms for different foods.
Yeah.
For example, my daughter-in-law is Japanese.
Right.
She and her brother, who also stayed with us for a while, they could eat rice until it was coming out of their ears, but they don't put weight on, because they have an enzyme which metabolizes rice in the way that you don't have and I don't have.
Yep.
And I just wonder, you know, if there is something here that, you know, foods that are typical to geographical areas, if people have adapted to these, and once you move them out, they don't always translate easily into people from other
That's very true.
DNA makeups or geographical makeups.
Yeah. I mean, there are some interesting documentaries on Netflix actually about that type of thing, and there was a particularly interesting study about the what are they called, the blue zones, which is a study of the oldest people living in different parts of the world.
Oh yeah,
that's very interesting. Won't go too much into that, but you can look that up yourself. And the other one was an interesting study on Australian Aborigines, who are hugely suffering because they have absorbed and completely adopted the Western diet of particular McDonald's, and their prevalence of heart disease and diabetes is through the roof.
Right.
They have a huge problem with that because for some reason they've absolutely gone crazy with it, in love with it. And as a result, they've got huge health problems within that specific community just from consuming very, very high processed food.
These were not natural.
Completely unnatural to them.
Yeah, and even though it may have been there for 200 years, we're talking about hundreds or thousands of years of development.
Evolution, that's
Evolution.
right. That's right, where they would be eating raw foods and vegetables and roots and so on.
Yeah, and we know equally that, for many cultures like the Native Americans, for the Aborigines of Australia, alcohol was a big problem. Not because they drank too much, but their bodies didn't metabolize alcohol in the same way because it wasn't natural to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that if you're aware of it, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So, you're here as a physical therapist, Marcel. How do you find the balance between doing what you do, which is really, it's a very physical work. It's manipulating people's bodies and massaging, and how do you find the balance between that and knowing that there are other things in people's lives that need to be changed?
So that's a delicate balance, because I don't want to overstep, but at the same time, if I can convey rationally a concept or idea that I think would benefit my client, I will always try to do that.
Right.
Fundamentally, it's always going to be their choice. It's always going to be something that they either want to do or choose to do or completely ignore. So once I can only inform or attempt to educate to the best of my ability in the time that we have, and if the person is willing to learn more or wants to adopt it, fantastic, and I'll be there to answer any questions and provide support. This is where the app has come in very handy to try and provide this complete service, which we're still expanding now in the relation to nutritional support, physical exercise with Ashra, my therapy. That's the goal, is to try and give that person the information and the support they need in order to ideally implement those changes if they can.
Yeah, but because but part of what you do is kind of fixing things that are broken.
Yeah.
But whether it's torn muscles or ligaments, or whether it's whatever, something's hurting.
Yeah.
And your job primarily is to help to stop it hurting.
And my proclivity is to also try and find the causes. So I tend to go a little deeper in terms of finding out what is causing it. Is it a simple injury? Okay, so somebody fell over and they hurt themselves. But is there if for something else, is there a causation? Is there something that is triggering it? Is there a health or lifestyle activity that is making it a vulnerability? So let's talk about it and then try and find a solution.
It's also possible, Marcel, to direct people to self-study.
Absolutely.
I had an experience probably about 2 years ago where I found my blood glucose levels were very high.
Yep.
And I don't do doctors. So I started researching it.
Yep.
Got a glucometer to test my sugars. I started with one herbal supplement, and then changed to another one, which I have to, and as I say, I don't want to say these names because I don't want to be seen to be giving advice to people as to what to do. But these were both things that I had read about that were good for helping to reduce insulin resistance. And the big change was diet. I didn't have a bad diet at all, but I was putting on weight. Cut out all the starchy foods, potatoes, rice, all the stuff with flour, bread, and cut out the sugary stuff. And within 9 months, I'd lost 22 kilos.
That's a tremendous amount.
And feel much better for it. I don't test my sugars every day, but I test them maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and they've come way, way down. So,
I mean, you're looking good on it.
Thank you.
That's
very kind of you. But I chose not to go down. I knew that if I went to the doctors, they would want to prescribe things for me, and I didn't want to have to say no to the doctor. I don't see the point in going. and them telling you what to do,
I think that's amazing.
and
That's
then
brilliant.
me saying, no, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Why waste your time?
Yeah,
Why
and
waste
theirs.
your time and theirs? Exactly. So yeah, no, I think what you've done is fantastic, and I think if more people did that, there'd be much less pressure on the health system,
Yeah,
and there'd be much less side effects as well.
and less cost to the health service.
Absolutely, that's what I mean. 100%. I mean, a bit of self-maintenance and self-awareness goes a very, very long way.
But you know, I needed someone to tell me what I needed to be looking at.
Right.
So they really pointed me in the direction. They said, okay, your blood sugars are high, and it's like, okay, that's what I need to research now.
Yeah.
And that was what I did. I started researching the whole thing.
Yeah.
So you know, I guess you are in a position sometimes to say to people,
Yeah.
look, this is an area
I hope so.
you really should look into.
That's
you should
right.
research.
That's right.
All of us have got internet now.
Well, as you said, the problem that very often is the case, and you saw this in real time 20 years ago, is that if the person wants a quick fix and they don't want to be self-responsible, then the solution is the pill.
Yeah.
So it just comes back to, you can provide that person with the information and a bit of a push. Unless they're deciding to do it themselves, it's not a path they're going to walk. So,
But it's absolutely true. You know, I've sat with people who say to me, "I've got type 2 diabetes, but I'm on my medication for it." Now we're having some food, and they go, "Oh, you're having dessert?" No, I'm not. I'm avoiding dessert.
Yeah.
Maybe I have some cheese or something.
Yeah.
But I'm avoiding dessert. Oh, I'm going to have my dessert because I'm on my medication. And it's like you've missed the point here.
Completely. It's like an excuse.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That is a big problem. And that's a broader self-preservation problem. And it's very hard. It takes discipline, it takes self-discipline to really adjust to that food, that lifestyle.
The changes, yeah.
Yeah, changes.
Yeah.
And we're habitual creatures. You know, we love to do the same thing and be around, and you know, it's hard to do.
And eat the same things.
We eat the same things, especially if we enjoy them, and especially if they're sweet. We're trained to enjoy that stuff. Unfortunately, it's hard to do.
But this is something that you are coming across more and more, Marcel,
Definitely.
in your physical therapy work.
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly because the average age of my clients, I do see young athletes, I do see younger people. Just today, in fact, I saw a young tennis player who was in his teens, and obviously obesity is not a problem for him. But I'll see older clients where that is more common.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing 50 plus people where that is a reality for them. So it is something that I will address even for somebody who is older. You know, it's an important topic, and it is reversible and adjustable with the right attitude and lifestyle changes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, but also lifestyle changes probably apply to a lot of the other work that you do. You know, people who are couch potatoes, who have got problems because they don't move enough.
That's right. Postural issues, desk-based even.
That's a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
Having a regular commitment to some kind of physical activity.
Correct. Makes a huge difference.
It's a lifestyle change.
It is. It's a whole life self and preservation change.
Yeah.
Really, and a prevention. It's a preventative attitude towards realizing that your body will change as you age. But if you do things now, and now could be 50, now could be 60, now could be 70.
Right.
But if you do it now, it'll benefit you later.
Yeah.
That's true.
Marcel, it has been delightful to
As always,
see you again
Indeed.
and to be able to chat through these things. And I know that you have on our live show, you have a regular commitment at the moment. So maybe we can do this again.
Yep.
And we'll pick up on some specific topics
I hope
for
so.
the future.
that would be great.
Marcel,
Lovely.
thank you so much.
Good to see you again.